Touchdown BC is sponsored by CFC. CanadaFootballChat.com is a national amateur football website and a source for high school and recruiting news in Canada. CFC's mission is to promote players, coaches, administrators, teams, and leagues from coast to coast. 40-plus local reporters write CFC's content covering Canadian, NCAA, and CIS recruiting, and high school players and teams across the continent. Touchdown BC is also sponsored by Chris Peckett. Veteran trial lawyer and football coach is now restricting his law practice to motor vehicle personal injury claims. Call his office at 604-519-6060 for a free consultation.
Welcome to episode 5 of Touchdown BC. I'm Ty Clark. This is Adam Cordick. Adam, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Still a little bit hungover from all that turkey I ate. Come on, we keep it PG here at TDBC.
Yeah, I noticed my shirt isn't fitting at all. Some of the buttons blew off. But anyways, let's get into some of the high school action.
What a wild weekend for high school football across AAA and AA. 21 conference games were played, marking the start of the conference season. We saw upsets, blowouts, and even a tie. Now let's get us to the game, starting with the AAA Pacific Conference.
Handsworth Royals taking on the Argyle Pipers in this opening Pacific Conference game. The Royals with a huge play early on. Leon Kioya takes the pitch, cuts inside, dodges some Argyle defenders, and with this 45-yard run, gets into Piper territory. Couple plays later, it's Royals pivot Sam Thole who throws a perfect ball to Dane Hopkins, who makes the catch and gets the score. In the second Q, Argyle would respond. It's QB Cole Theobald who rolls out and with his cross-body throw finds his receiver in the end zone for the major. It was a close one after a half. Third Q, it's Thole who finds the grade 11 running back, Kioya. Thole dumps it off and Kioya would do the rest, outrunning everybody for the 70-yard touchdown pass. Same quarter, Argyle responds. Theobald buys some time and will find a streaking Cole Salomon for the 50-yard major. Cole squared, getting it done. Handsworth's next drive, we see a little trickery. Thole hands the ball off, which looks to be a reverse, but it's a pass. Jacob G finds Mr. Miller downfield. Couple plays later, it's who else? Leon Kioya, who punches it in. Leon would score all 3 touchdowns for the Royals in this game. That next kickoff, the Pipers look to get some good field position. The returner takes it on the hop, ducks, dodges some Royals, and takes it past midfield for the huge return. Argyle would look to capitalize. It's Theobald finding an open receiver for the 10-yard major. Argyle's last drive, it's Theobald finding Caleb Buckholtz, but Buckholtz would cough it up. Handsworth beats Argyle 24-21. More from the Pacific Conference. West Van taking on Rutland. Rutland would score first on a QB keeper from Eliash Goering. West Van would respond. It's Ethan Whiting who takes this kickoff, finds a hole, takes it outside, finds some daylight, and turns on the Jets. Too bad a penalty would negate the touchdown. Same quarter, it's West Van pivot Charlie Welsh who takes this bootleg play and looks to run. Right after the pump fake, Param Haradi comes out of nowhere and lays down a huge block, springing Welsh for 20 more yards. Opening kickoff of the second half, it's Voodoo running back Matt Clack who gets the ball and runs it 70 yards for the score. Unfortunately, a penalty would bring the play back. Same drive, it's Highlanders DB Ryan Hanley who picks off the Voodoo QB and takes it 50 yards for a pick 6. Voodoo running back Matt Clack would take the game over, finding some room on the outside where he turns on some freakishly fast Jets and would go untouched for the 70-yard rushing major. Rutland's next drive, it's Clark again. Using his speed, this time running it in from 10 yards out. Rutland up 2 scores. In the fourth, West Van would make it a 1-score game with this bruising TD run from Burns. But don't count the Clark man out. The Rutland running back gets his 3rd touchdown of the game. Huge game for Matt Clark. The Voodoos would ice this game in the fourth with a pick from Dakota Robertson. Rutland over West Van, 28-14. The other game in the Pacific Conference was Seaquam beating Salmon Arm 22-8. Here are the standings. Should be a good one this weekend when Handsworth takes on Seaquam. In the Wild West Conference, we see that New West beat up on Belmont, BC with a huge win against South Delta, and Mount Doug gets the W against Notre Dame. Here are the Western standings. This weekend we see Mount Doug taking on South Delta, New West heading to VC, and Notre Dame will take on Belmont. In the East, we saw STM tie Mount Boucherie, Terry Fox shutting down Lord Tweedsmuir, and Kelowna beating WJ Moat. Eastern standings time. The game of the week in the Eastern Conference has got to be Kelowna going up against Terry Fox. Now it's time for some AA ball, starting with the scores from the Eastern Conference. 1-0 Abbotsford will take on 1-0 Pitt Meadows this weekend. In the Southern Conference, Langley shocks Holy Cross 20-13. Now here are the standings in the Southern Conference after 1 week. These are your scores from Okanagan Conference games. Here are the standings. South Kamloops and Vernon start their season off with wins. In the Western Conference, we see Windsor upsets Balanis, and also Barsby beats Nanaimo. Here are your standings for the West. Good game this weekend with Windsor taking on Barsby. In the North, we saw PGSS move to 4-0 this past weekend. The standings in the North look like so. TDBC's High School Player of the Week is Handsworth Royals running back Leon Kioya, who helped his team beat Argyle this past weekend.
Joining me now is TDBC High School Player of the Week, Leon Kioya. Leon, you are the running back for the Handsworth Royals, and you had an incredible game this past weekend. You had 172 rush yards for 2 touchdowns and also had 2 receptions for 72 yards and a TD. What was it like having such an impact game for your team this past weekend?
It was a great team win. It was just, we all wanted to win that game. We all thought that was the hardest game to win against Argyle Pipers. I just got to credit my teammates. They did a great job. O-line did an amazing job. The receivers did an amazing job going to the secondary to block. I think we all just played as a team, and that's how we got our win.
Oh, perfect. And your team now, throughout exhibition play, your only loss has come to an American team, which usually happens. What does that say about your team that you're on a winning streak, you're on a roll right now?
I think our team, first of all, going to California to play a game, we all bonded, which made us better. I think we're a really strong team, and I believe that I don't think any team should count us out on the playoff run.
And you're coached by legendary football coach in BC, Coach Prepchuk. What's it like to have him coach you, and what does it say about your school that he's been there so long and he just keeps winning and building your program?
I love Coach Prepchuk. He's highly respected in the football community. He always pushes me harder. And what I love about him is why he criticizes me in the little things, which I feel like makes me a better player. And the coaches at Handsworth always do a great job emphasizing the balance of academics and athletics. And I think that's what I love about our school.
Well said, well said. I think your parents probably like that you said academics as well as athletics.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into next week. You're playing a team that won last week, Seaquam. What do you think Seaquam's going to bring to the table against your Handsworth Royals?
I think Seaquam's going to bring speed. I know their running back, he's a really good player. I respect him. They're going to bring speed. So what what we got to do on the defensive side of the ball is just contain. Don't let them get the cutbacks. We just got to play smart and play mental football and play physical as well.
Well, thanks very much, Leon, for being with us. We really appreciate you coming on our show.
Thank you.
That is Leon Kioya with the Handsworth Royals running back.
We have a new number 1 in our TDBC high school AAA rankings. Mount Doug jumps to number 1 after a big win. Terry Fox at number 2. VC moves up 1 spot to number 3 after beating South Delta. New West takes the 4th spot, and South Delta drops 4 spots to number 5.
Joining me now is TDBC high school insider Dino Jeremiah. How you doing, Dino?
Great.
Well, let's get right into the action. It was the first week of the Western Conference playing conference games. Let's start with Vancouver College beating South Delta.
Well, a little bit of a surprise. South Delta obviously being the defending champions, and Vancouver College going to South Delta and beating them in a game that obviously weather, nasty field, etc. But Vancouver College, great defense. Chris Ellis, another monster game for the Fighting Irish, and coming out on top. So all the other teams are going to be looking at that game film and figuring out what college did to beat that team.
And now, we were talking about Vancouver College needed a big win to kind of get into that top group conversation. Do you think that's what they did?
Absolutely. I think when you knock off the teams like we talked about, South Delta, Terry Fox, Mount Doug, you knock off one of those teams, now you're up there sitting with them. So
now let's get into another game in the conference, New West shellacking Belmont.
Yeah, I think I don't know if that was much of a surprise. Belmont has a good team. They're down in numbers right now, but New West continuing to roll. I think they're doing a lot of great things. They got a lot of team speed, which they take advantage of with their schemes, both offensively and defensively. So I expect New West to continue to roll. This weekend, big test for them.
Yeah. Well, they're playing my alma mater, VC, and that's what I think. We have New West in the 4th spot, Vancouver College in the 3rd spot, so someone's going to have to lose that game.
Yeah, and I think that Vancouver College, it'll be interesting to see how they come back off a big win. Sometimes teams, come off a little flat. New West, again, seeing how they rise up and play that game.
Well, I don't want to put any salt in the wound of your Notre Dame jugglers, but I hear a couple plays kind of change that game. Maybe the score wasn't as indicative of what the game was. With Mount Doug winning and South Delta losing, does that kind of put Mount Doug as the team to beat across the province?
Yeah, I think Mount Doug is a great team, and we've talked about them before. They've got that winning tradition, and they win games because they expect to win. They got a couple of real talented players. Gavin Cobb is just an amazing talent, treat to watch. He's going to continue to take that team. Another big test. It's great. Every week we've got another great game to watch for. Mount Doug now this week playing South Delta. So that's a great matchup. So it'd be interesting to see, again, how they match up against each other. And I'm sure Mark Townsend with Mount Doug, he's watching that college film to see what happens this weekend.
And before we get into some AA action, you mentioned Mount Doug playing South Delta, the Subway Bowl rematch from last year. And we also mentioned Vancouver College taking on New West. The game that I've been looking at that's going to be a great one is Kelowna, who we're fan favorites here at TDBC of Kelowna.
Yeah.
Kelowna taking on Terry Fox.
This is a huge test for Kelowna. Parker Simpson continues to roll, continues to have great games. So this is a big test. Come down to the Lower Mainland, play Terry Fox, who's a strong team, has not lost yet. This is really a test for Kelowna. They've got other players on their team that are starting to rise up. Zach Vint is a player that I've known for a while, and he's playing outstanding on defense. So this, for sure, is the biggest test for Kelowna, and it's highlighted a little more coming down to the coast.
That's going to be an exciting one to watch. Getting to AA, we saw a couple upsets, starting with Langley beating Holy Cross.
Yeah, Langley continues to do some great things, and there's a little bit of a shift in the AA because, as you mentioned, Langley continues to play strong. Holy Cross was up there at the beginning of the year as one of those teams to watch in AA, but Langley continues to roll. Windsor upsetting Bolinas is another little bit of a surprise, because Bolinas was in there in the top 5. So we're starting to see a little bit of figuring it out as well on the AA.
And you mentioned Windsor. I think for me, the game of the week next week in AA would be Windsor taking on Barsby.
Yeah, that's for sure going to be a game where we're trying to find out who's the pretenders, who's really as strong as they should be, with Windsor taking on Barsby, because Barsby has that winning tradition as well at the AA level.
My oh my, it was a heck of a weekend in community football. You'd think a belly full of mashed potatoes, turkey, and gravy would slow these guys down, but that was definitely not the case. So let's get into the action.
We begin in Junior Bantam with the Chilliwack Giants up against the Ridge Meadow Knights. And from the get-go, Jackson Saunders powers it up the gut and turns on the turbo button, and nobody stood a chance. Knights ball at Prey. Gavin Thomas tosses it to Cole Thomas, and the boys with the 2 first names get it done. Thomas has a nice couple blocks on the outside, and he'd also be off to the races. Nice touchdown. Later on, Giants ball, and just like Saunders, Chris Drozdowski also pounds it up the gut. Look how big and fast he is. We might need to double check this guy's birth certificate. It's like boys to men out there. But where there are days, there are also nights. Gavin Thomas knocks on the door, and Michael Hopwood answers. Great catch, Hopwood. Knights get the ball back, and yes, the show is called Touchdown BC, but it might as well be called the Cole Thomas Show. Sorry, Gavin. Cole with a nice run to the outside, and he'd be gone. Cole scores his 2nd touchdown of the day. Remember this guy. The Giants will be forced to punt later, and the Knights get the ball back. Let's see if you can guess what happens next. Gavin to Cole, and it's like clockwork with this guy. TD numero 3 on the day. But Chilliwack would march downfield, and they don't call him the Giants for nothing, folks. Big bad Drozdowski powers it to the outside, and everyone is afraid to tackle him. I don't blame you. Later on, after a quick commercial break, the Cole Thomas Show would resume, and those nice pink socks rumbled in for his 4th touchdown of the day. Ridge Meadows' next possession, $20 says they give it to Cole Thomas that he'd score. Well, you better start getting your wallet out, folks. Yep, that's his 5th touchdown of the day. I'm a whole lot richer. Knights get the ball back, and, well, seriously, I'm out of jokes and remarks. This is too much. I literally don't even know what to say anymore. Medic! Someone stop the bleeding. CT grabs his 6th TD of the day. I'll be on the cover of the next Wheaties box. But before all was said and done, Keenan Hamilton runs one in for Chilliwack. Giants 20, Midge Meadows 45. As my co-host Adam would say, it's time for some Pee-wee ball. Ridge Meadow blue, Chilliwack blue. From the get-go, big number 34, the speedster, takes the rock outside and puts Ridge Meadows on the board. Still in the first cue, Ridge Meadows regains possession. The QB fires a dart to the wrong shade of blue. Jace Nessel with a beautiful 19, equally nice run back, huffing and puffing and blowing it deep into Ridge territory, getting the Giants all fired up. Big turnover. Giants drive it downfield and give it to the other number 34, Joshua Caverly, who casually brings the pigskin over the line and in for the score. A couple big pats in the back there. But Ridge Meadow Blue would make Chilliwack feel blue on this one, with number 4 taking the toss to the left side. And this guy's got moves like Jagger. Get off me, don't touch me, see you later, bye-bye, nobody's touching him. Nice touchdown there. But what's this? Chilliwack's getting pumped up. Looking good, guys. Chilliwack ball, in need of a score. Aiden Saunders would be the hero, but it slips out of his hands right to Ridge Meadows, who put the nail in the coffin. Ridge Meadows 18, Chilliwack 6. Over to the other Pee Wee game now, with Chilliwack Red hosting Ridge Meadow Gold. And right out of the gate, Chilliwack with some trickery. Theo Smith pounds it out left, and the kid has some fancy moves, and he's gone. Chilliwack would get the ball back later, and I absolutely love this play. Sawyer Tether gets down low to everyone's sight and lets the Red Sea part for him. Nice thank you there. Nice thank you there. Hey, come back. Hey, turn around. Oh, hey, thanks. Nice play there. Ridge Meadows working hard to turn this game around. Big number 99 Diego Lorena takes it and does everything in his power, breaking tackle after tackle. 6 tackles broken on this play, but it'd be too much. Chilliwack wins 18-0. Now let's take a look at some of the scores in Midget from this past weekend. In the Midget standings, the Falcons still stand at the top with the Bears and Stampeders nipping at their heels. After that, it's pretty even down the board. And over to the Bantam scores, the forecast predicted some blowouts, and well, they were right. Taking a look at the Bantam standings now, 4 teams are over 500 and 4 teams are below 500. But let's take a minute to admire the Rams, who are not only undefeated, but they have a points differential of 191. That is impressive. With the exception of South Delta Coquitlam, lots of blowouts in Junior Bantam this weekend as well. Over in Junior Bantam, look at all the strong teams down the list. You got a feel for the Rams, who are 4-1 in the season, but are somehow in 5th place. And those Cougars in 1st. Wow. Just wow. And look at all those lopsided victories in Pee Wee too. Nice work, boys.
Ty, with no Canada West football to watch this weekend, UBC looks to be in good position to make the postseason with 3 games left.
There have been many ups and downs for the UBC Thunderbirds this season, and we sit here at the Thanksgiving break. We want to take a look back at what the Birds have done so far this season.
Just past the halfway point of the Thunderbirds season, it would be hard to imagine UBC in a more favorable position sitting at 3-2. Although the T-Birds got off to a hot start against the Dinos in their first game of the season, almost nobody expected them to pull away with a win against the number 2 team in the country in the Dinos. Rookie quarterback Michael O'Connor was slightly subpar in his first CIS performance, but it was the defense, namely anyone not named Taylor Loeffler, that was even more suspect. Week 2 was a different story for UBC, though, as it went from playing the best team in the Can West to playing the worst, the Regina Rams. Not only did Michael O'Connor look sharp in his first homecoming game for UBC, it was a real confidence boost after their lowly loss the week previously. Week 3, without a doubt, was the turning point so far in UBC's 2015 campaign. Their new task would be a tough one against a potent Manitoba Bison's offense with Teo Dizar at the helm and rookie sensation Jamel Lyles in the backfield and on returns. But the Birds' offense had the outstanding counterattack. It was Michael O'Connor's coming out party as he threw for 398 yards and 4 touchdowns in the process, with the Thunderbirds winning a nail-biter 51-48 in Manitoba. Perhaps the T-Birds were still nursing their celebratory hangover when they hosted the Saskatchewan Huskies the week after, but they came out extremely flat-footed in Week 4. The Huskies got to O'Connor and ran up the scoreboard early with a passing attack that UBC had no counter for. The T-Birds tried to come back, but it would be too little too late. In Week 5, the Thunderbirds traveled to Alberta to play the Golden Bears, and things got ugly for the Bears early. Not only did UBC's offense put them up 3 touchdowns, the Bears lost their starting quarterback due to a nasty horse collar tackle in the first half, and that would be it. With the T-Birds sitting at 3rd in the Can West through the Thanksgiving break, they play an Alberta team seeking revenge against this weekend, and will have their work cut out for them against the Huskies and Bisons down the stretch.
Welcome to the UBC Report. We're lucky enough to be on the Crown Countdown News studio once again, and as he always does, Jim Mullen joins me in studio. Jim, the UBC Thunderbirds are 3-2 at this point of the season. Did you expect them to be here?
I expected them to be somewhere around the middle, pushing into one of those 4 playoff spots at the top. Certainly not taking the conference by storm, because it was a bit of a rebuilding process and a bit of a retooling process as well. When you have that much of a change in personnel, not only bringing new players in, but shifting players to other positions, like Terrell Davis to linebacker, like A.J. Blackwell to defensive back, you're going to go through some growing pains. And I think also as well, some of the coaching staff had to make adjustments on the fly as well. So to see them in the middle of the pack right now at the turkey break, with an excellent opportunity to make a really good push into the playoffs and build some momentum, they look like they're in a good position right now.
Yeah, and the Thunderbirds are 2-1 on the road, which is pretty impressive. We're just talking a little bit before we're on camera about how maybe one of their toughest tests down the line will be against Saskatchewan. What do you see in the last 3 games of the season?
Well, I don't want to look past Alberta because I think Alberta proved in their first 2 games as they got out to that 2-0 start, they're capable of beating big teams. They beat Saskatchewan at home. However, I think one of the key games in the process is that game in Saskatchewan. It is so hard to win at Griffith Stadium at a place where you've got the fireworks going off, where you've got 6,000 fans, where you've got that energy in the building. You know, one plus for UBC was that homecoming game, having, you know, depending on who's counting, anywhere between 7,000 to 9,000 people in the building. They're kind of accustomed to that energy now, even though it was on their side in Vancouver. The other thing is that Saskatchewan had their number in that second home game of the regular season. They made adjustments. They exploited the weaknesses on the offensive line, and they exploited some weaknesses on defense, which UBC has adjusted for now, and it'll be interesting to see how those 2 teams come together 2 weeks from now. And then that last game against Manitoba on Halloween, a game that'll be on Shaw. Both those 2 games, the Saskatchewan game and the Manitoba game, will be on Shaw. The Manitoba game should be something special, I think, because you got a lot of these BC kids that are on the Manitoba roster coming home to play in Vancouver, and sometimes they share some of their best talent on that home field in Vancouver. It's a home field for them, especially with a lot of friends and family there. So I think that will decide some of the playoff order in the Canada West in terms of the UBC-Manitoba game, even if UBC drops one along the way.
Now, if we're to take a little preview about what's going to happen in the future, right now UBC's 3rd in the Can West. Do you see them cracking the top 3 in the end of the season?
Actually, you're tied with Manitoba right now, and they have that 3-point advantage on Manitoba. If anyone goes out to the CIS site right now, they'll see that Manitoba's marked in at number 2. Never trust the CIS site, people. It's actually UBC in 2nd spot. So they've got that 3-point advantage going into that Halloween game, which is really important. They own the tiebreaker right now. So going down the stretch, it gets right back, I think, to that key game, the game against Saskatchewan on the road, which is going to be filled with pressure. And it's really going to be up to this team to respond to a team that, quite frankly, gave them a spanking on their home field when expectations were pretty high.
Well, there you have it. That's your UBC report with Jim Mullen.
With the Canada West not playing this past weekend, you would think that it would be hard to find BC-born players with impact games. This was not the case. There were 6 games in the CIS, and 2 of those games were won by BC-born quarterbacks. Now let's get to the BC-born CIS player report.
Acadia QB and Duncan, BC native Nick Binkowski had a huge game in his first career start in the CIS. Nick went 19 for 23 for 262 yards and threw for 4 touchdowns. Now let's take a look at the rest of the BC-born players across the CIS.
Well, that about does it for us here at Touchdown BC. Adam, some big games in community. Obviously, CIS will be back next weekend. What are we going to expect?
Well, I can't even wait to get to episode 6 already. Only 4 sleeps away, and we'll be there.
Well, he's Adam Cordick. I'm Ty Clark. We'll see you next week.